good to see you.
All right, welcome everyone. It is 2:04, and we will call this CAMPO, now I was going to say November 10th meeting to order. Welcome to fall, y'all. It'll be here 3 days, and then it'll be 80 again. So enjoy the cool weather until Wednesday, I guess. We do have a quorum present, and as far as proxies go, Mayor Pro Tem Fuentes has Councilmember Mike Siegels. Commissioner Ann Howard is not here, but she has Amy Patillos, and Councilmember Matea has Mayor Schrader's. And with that, we will get going. Did we have anybody sign up for public comments?
No.
No? Okay. All right. No public comments. So we will move on. Nothing for item number 3. We'll go on to item number 4, report from the TAC.
Thank you, Chair Long. The Technical Advisory Committee met on October 27th. We had a couple of action items on the agenda, both of which are on today's agenda as well, starting with amendments to the 2025-2028 Transportation Improvement Program and 2050 Regional Transportation Plan. A recommendation for Transportation Policy Board approval of this item was approved unanimously by the TAC. We also had a presentation on the final draft Regional Safety Action Plan, and this item also had a recommendation for Policy Board approval, which is approved unanimously by the TAC. Following that, we had information items, including a discussion on transportation project progress and how that's tracked and monitored, as well as an update on the CAMPO Project Readiness Program, which has active corridor studies on FM 734, FM 969, and FM 973. And that's all we have at the meeting. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks. Anybody have any questions for Chad? All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Moving on to item number 5. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
So moved.
Okay. Councilmember Matea makes a motion, and we'll take the second for Commissioner Trevelyan. Any questions, comments? All right. Seeing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. We will move on now to item number 6, discuss and take appropriate action on the 2627 UPWP Amendment Number 1.
Good afternoon. Today we are proposing Amendment Number 1 to the fiscal year 2026 and 2027 Unified Planning Work Program, the UPWP. We are adding funding of 5307 and local funds for the City of San Marcos transit route study, and this is the City of San Marcos funds. This is not part of CAMPO funds. We are also adding TASA and local funds for 2 projects, the Hunter Road Trail Connectivity and Development Study and the Eanes Creek Trail Feasibility Study. This is TASA funds that were approved by this body back in June. And then we are carrying over some unexpended funds from fiscal year 2025 of 366,000 PL funds for my projects. So staff is requesting that the policy board approve fiscal year 2026 and 2027 UPWP Amendment Number 1 and the accompanying resolution 2025-11-6. And I will take any questions.
Thank you, Teresa. Does anybody have any questions on that amendment? Okay, is there a motion? Okay, Commissioner Inglesby makes a motion. Is there a second? Did I hear?
Second.
Okay, second. Councilmember Stevens. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Teresa. Item number 7, discuss and take appropriate action on the 2528 TIP and 2050 RTP. Ryan.
All right. Thank you, Chair Long. So this is just bringing back the item that was a public hearing last month, and this is the fall amendment cycle. Just to remind everyone that this is our regularly scheduled opportunity with which we can make significant changes to the regional transportation plan as well as the transportation improvement program. So significant changes mean really just changes in limits, or if there's significant funding changes or changes to the scope or schedule of the project. So our amendment schedule, this has gone out we had 6 open houses and a comment period that ran from August 29th to October 10th, which Joyce will talk about what we heard from the public. We also had our public hearing at last month's board meeting. We did, as Chad just mentioned, take it to the Technical Advisory Committee and received a recommendation, and we are here today to ask for approval on the amendments. And so I'm not going to go through these amendments one by one like I did last time, but if you have any specific questions about these, please feel free to let me know. I do want to point out that any of the projects, we are removing a few projects from the Transportation Improvement Program, but they will remain in the Regional Transportation Plan and continue development at the local government level. And with that, I will hand that over to Joyce to talk about what we heard from the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. So as Ryan mentioned, we did have 6 in-person open houses. The comment period officially started September 2nd. As is our practice, if we're able to open that online open house before the comment period officially opens, then we do try to get that posted online. So in this case, we were able to get the online information and open house opened before that Labor Day holiday weekend. So we had 6 in-person open houses along with the online open house and commenting, and we've continued the practice of accepting comments by mail. People can request information, a comment card, and a postage paid envelope that will come back to us with their comment card, and then we're also still accepting comments by voicemail. We received 19 comments overall, and those you'll see individually in your packet in the backup material. So we had comments related to 1826, and then also comments related to the I-35 Central project. There weren't any comments specifically related to the amendments this cycle, though. And as I said, all of those comments detailed are in your backup material. So with that, Ryan and I will take any questions.
Any questions on these minutes? Yes?
Thank you. Just because I know we discussed this at our last meeting, but for the record, if you could go over the removal or I guess adding Austin Light Rail Phase 1 for the local funding commitments, and as it relates to the not including the portion of the rail line that would extend to the airport.
I'm not sure about the second part, but I will. So the 4 listings you see here for the Austin Transit Partnership, this is the local funding that's being added to the Transportation Improvement Program. This is something that we discussed at length with the Austin Transit Partnership staff, as well as the Federal Transit Administration. This will help them meet the requirements for the Capital Investments Grant Program, which is an iterative funding program, the New Starts program, and so this inclusion will allow them to move forward in that process. Again, there's no federal funding attached to the project yet. Sorry. So there's no federal funding attached to this yet, but this will allow them to move forward with right-of-way acquisition. And they did not submit a piece of the project that takes it out to the airport. So that was not included in the listings that they submitted.
So for the record, the segment for the rail line that would extend it fully to the airport was not submitted by ATP?
That's correct.
And that is why it's not included in the TIP?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry, there was some meeting minutes going on in the background over there. Oh, did that get your question answered? Okay. Any other questions?
No, Ryan Doyce, I just want to talk about the various different modalities for you to get feedback on. Oftentimes we're hearing from folks that they're not able to reach us, and I thought it was very interesting, and I appreciate y'all highlighting the various different ways that they can do so. Is there a place on our website or somewhere else where we keep that information so folks can be cognizant of all times, hey, listen, this is, we want to hear from you, we work for you, here's your different ways you can give us feedback?
So we do have a Get Involved page on the website, and that if we do have any comment opportunities open. For instance, we just recently closed the comment period for the FM 969 study. So I think during the TIP amendments, the public participation plan, which we'll get to in just a moment, we also had the FM 973 comment period open, and then FM 969 filtered into that at some point. So we had, I think, 4 different comment opportunities, along with the policy board always accepting comments and staff always taking community input. So we do have that Get Involved page that lists all of the comment opportunities, and it also outlines how if people want to leave public comments for the board, send those in by email the week prior, then that is included in y'all's packets. If they want to show up in person and give comments in this forum, then it describes how to do that as well. And then, of course, the phone number and how to submit any records requests is also what I hope is easily available and able to be found on our website.
Awesome. Thank you, Joyce. All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion on item number 7?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Matea, second by Mayor Houston. Any other comments, questions? All right. Seeing none. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan and Joyce. Joyce, you're up again on updates to the public participation plan.
Thank you, Chair Long. So this is the 3rd iteration of the public participation plan presentation. So we've come to you with the information item as well as the public hearing at the October board meeting. So as I've mentioned before, the public participation plan update is being updated to have the language that mirrors some of the executive order guidance that's been issued earlier this year, as well as some of the federal guidance that Federal Highway Administration and others that kind of govern the MPOs is recommending at this point in time. So we are not changing any of the community outreach processes or practices. All of the ways I just described that we accept public comments, as well as the number of public comments that we take prior to the TIP amendments and TIP adoption, as well as the regional transportation plan, the long-range plan requiring 2 phases of public comment periods. Those are all staying the same. So we are updating the language to mirror what the federal guidance is right now. We're also updating some of the interactive tools and technologies, things like the online mapping that we've introduced in the past few years. That's being updated to be included in our appendix for our practices. So an overview of the last time the public participation plan was updated in 2019. This is when this body last made changes to the public participation plan. We included a system-based, depending on the planning document type. So prior to 2019, there was kind of a tiered system of a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So the TIP amendments had kind of a similar process to when you were receiving comments for the regional transportation plan. So we have modified that so that each of the documents that this body approves has a specific community outreach period and process to go through. We also added requirements for public involvement for the CAMPO studies that we're working in partnership with TxDOT at this moment, and also with some of the local jurisdictions. So we wanted to make sure that all of the planning work and the studies that we are doing in the community also require a community outreach component to them. We added notifications for social media and also added a requirement for online open houses, which I will say we were requiring an online open house and comment period in 2019. So the following year that made it a little bit easier for us to adjust, and we already had the practice of putting things online and making sure that was available to the public. So the public participation plan used the same process as the TIP amendments that we just described. The comment period ran from September 2nd through October 17th, so it included more than 45 days to comment, which is required in the public participation plan that the PPP has at least a 45-day comment period. So we did cover that requirement, as well as the 6 in-person open houses, the online open house and commenting, and then also the comments by mail and by phone. We received 1 comment specific to the public participation plan. It actually had to do with being able to find things on the website and the internet browser, so I did respond back to that person and told her how our platform is optimized for certain internet browsers, so I'm hoping that she found that helpful and that she's finding our website a little bit more user-friendly now.
What's that browser?
Chrome or Edge are what WordPress are optimized for. So with that, staff recommends that the Transportation Policy Board approve the updates to the public participation plan.
Thank you, Joyce. Is there a motion? Motion by Councilmember Lane, second by Commissioner Terrio. Any comments, questions, discussion? I would just say thank you, Joyce. You and the team always do a great job. So, Mayor Houston.
I looked at it in Chrome. There's a serious font issue with it, and I was not able to read it. I'm sure it's lovely, but it was illegible.
The public participation plan, the track changes, yes, that was...
It's not the track changes. It's, I'll show you in a little bit.
That would be helpful, thank you.
Yeah.
Chair,
Oh, yes.
thank you, Joyce, for your good work. When I asked our staff if this had been reviewed by the TAC, they told me no because it wasn't technical, but I think we could benefit from having more eyes that are sort of some unelecteds and, you know, staff that deal with the public, because we ask them to deal with the public, that I thought that was maybe a missed opportunity. So I'll just put that out there.
Yeah, we typically have kept policy things at this board and not sent them to the TAC, because in theory, they're supposed to, be the technical advisory committee. But, so now, comments heard. Anything else? All right, all in favor of the update? Any opposed? All right, thank you. Motion passes unanimously. On to item number 9, the Regional Safety Action Plan. Going to kick that off for us, Nick?
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Chair Long. Thank you, members of the board. So I'm here today to present the final draft of the Regional Safety Action Plan, to present recommendations for adoption, and to offer a resolution supporting the plan and its goals of eliminating fatalities and serious injuries on our roadways. I will also present some ideas about early implementation items for CAMPO staff and others to undertake, as well as some potential programs recommended in this plan that we can discuss today or at future meetings. Before I begin, I just want to make 2 notes of changes to the previous version requested by the TAC at our meeting in October. First, at the request of Cedar Park, we fixed an error stating that the city had adopted the Williamson County Safety Action Plan. And second, we removed a mention of rumble strips on 2 Bastrop County roadways in our list of potential improvements in the county. That was a change that had already been made in the Bastrop County Safety Action Plan. I will reiterate here again that our purpose for this study is to begin to deal with, regionally, the issue of roadway fatalities and serious injuries. It is an issue that many communities in our region have begun dealing with in a variety of ways, but one that our region has now chosen to tackle in a systemic way to make sure that our friends, neighbors, and family can travel safely. Many of our local, regional, and statewide partners have already begun to take this issue seriously by adopting visions and goals to eliminate fatal and serious injury crashes. The time frame offered by our safety task force aligns with what has been adopted by the state and many other county and municipal governments in our region. With an analysis of crash hotspots and through building high injury networks with our county safety task forces, this plan offers a project list of site-specific improvements that local governments and agencies can used to begin to address many critical safety issues. The plan also offers a safety toolbox composed of systemic infrastructure improvements, recommended policies and safety programs, and behavioral strategies that address education, enforcement, and community engagement. Our task ahead is to begin the steps to implement an actionable framework focused on roadway safety with specific roles for CAMPO, our member agencies, and our regional partners. Through the first year of implementation, we will begin to take on a number of efforts that have been described in the plan, including the early action items you see here. These include updating our crash data dashboards to reflect the work of this plan, and to work with the TAC to continue safety grant coordination and progress reporting on the plan itself. In addition, I'm also offering ideas for potential programs that the plan has recommended that CAMPO and our regional partners can begin to explore and undertake. These include promotion and peer exchanges for the Safe Routes to School program, a program to support roadway safety audits, a continuation of some of our county safety task forces to further the implementation at the county level. I welcome any discussion of these early action items today or any other ideas you might have on how we should begin implementing this plan. And with that, we present the following recommendation to you. Staff and the Technical Advisory Committee recommend the Transportation Policy Board adopt the Regional Safety Action Plan as detailed in Resolution 2025-11-9. Thank you, Chair Long and members of the board, and I'll take any questions now.
Thank you, Nick. I know we've discussed this several times at past board meetings. Is there a motion for approval? Okay. Our esteemed mayor from Cedar Park makes a motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Inglesby seconds that motion. Okay. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I want to ask Nicholas, I wanted you to just expand on something that you just said, which I think is important and is worth reiterating. You mentioned that this plan dovetails and works in coordination with a variety of different efforts that are being done by entities in the region, including Vision Zero. If you can expand on that a little bit, that'd be great, because I think at times we had a discussion where there may not necessarily understood the line of delineation, if any, between the two, or how those calibrated work together. Additionally speaking, I think that it's really key and important. You brought it about the complete streets aspect. If you can just touch on that a little bit for for everyone to understand that.
Sure. Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, Vision Zero, or what the state has also adopted in their Road to Zero program, are movements to really think about ways that both as professionals, as leaders of local governments, or as just citizens, we can think about how do we make our roadways safe? And these different kinds of movements have come across the idea that it's just plainly unacceptable that fatalities or serious injuries are occurring on streets. And so there's a variety of ways to get there, and that's where obviously the discussion is had by all of us here. But like I said, there's been a long-standing program at the City of Austin, and they had a 10-year, look back update on their program, and they've seen a lot of key spots where they've had a lot of success. There's been other, both from the state and district offices, a lot of movement around focusing on safety in a number of different ways. Obviously, the State Highway Safety Plan is a very good document that a lot of our local governments and engineers look to making sure that a lot of our roadways are safe. And then through this process, as you mentioned, we have developed a sort of a template to look at complete streets across the region. A number of local governments have already adopted these policies, but we just wanted to make it easier for local governments in the region to take on those kind of policies if they so choose. So we have provided through this process and continuing to work with the TAC sort of a template of those policies that work in sort of the complete streets focus. So yeah.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mayor.
Just want to say we had a pretty hefty debate on my own council about Vision Zero as we're looking at some of our master mobility plan. And the thing that I think a lot of people can be tempted to say, like, accidents happen and sometimes that's just life. And safety is a choice we get to make, as you just said, Nick. Like, it is how you build roads and how you do this. So I'm glad and proud that we're choosing safety today, and in concert with the actions taken by our state and so many of our cities. I hope we make it easier, and I think we'll make it at least a little bit safer.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? It'd be rough if you voted against safety today, so. Passes unanimously. Everybody is for safety. Yeehaw. All right, moving on to item number 10, we have a presentation of the state safety report.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Kaufman with the Texas A&M Transportation Institute. I'm here for your annual State of Safety Report for the CAMPO region.
We're not going to be talking football today, correct?
Hey, we can talk football all you want to.
I'm a very mixed household. I got my master's at the University of Texas, and my daughter is the loudest and proudest freshman at the class 2029, Texas A&M University. Whoop, whoop. So. And according to my paycheck, gig 'em.
There we go.
But once again, I am here to talk about the state of safety, since this seems to be the theme for today. We look at the last, as part of what even the state does in terms of its road to zero. We look at the last 10 years of crash data to see what the performance is here in the CAMPO region. Along with that, looking at 17 different areas of traffic safety that some of those are included within the plans that you just approved, but there's a variety of different issues that are contributing to the safety problem, not just here in the region, but throughout our country. To start, in regards to regional crashes, last year in 2024, we had a slight drop. Numbers were quite high. They dropped during COVID. They started to rise back up. We had a very minor drop in 2024, and looking currently at trends, it looks like in 2025 you're going to have a continued drop, so that's positive. One of the things we also look at is the regional crash rate, and the crash rate is basically what are the odds of you getting into a crash considering how much we drive. I guess you consider this, vehicle roulette, I guess. Luckily, the region plays a much better game than the rest of the state, and we've been tracking lower than the state throughout the last 10 years with a drop from in last year, so well done. Regional fatalities. To start, I'd like to say that, in 2022, and part of this is due to COVID, since 2020, there was a rise in fatalities throughout the state, throughout the country. 2022 was, for some reason, a very bad year. And since then, it's been going down. And in 2024, you've had an additional drop in terms of regional fatalities. I would love to tell you that this is going to continue. However, in looking at this year's fatalities so far, it is looking, considering that a lot of deaths unfortunately occurred during the holidays, that you're actually potentially going to top 300 fatalities this year. Wow. So far, as of today, and we don't have last week's data in, you have 256.
Jeff, what do you attribute that to? Because, just like you said, we saw during COVID, and, I think every time we get this report every year, we also get interested about, cars crashing into individuals. Why do you think there is such a spike this year as compared to the recent trend?
That's a really good question, and it's one that I would hope, one of the things I like to say that's really good for traffic crashes is congestion. congestion is a positive thing because the slower we go, it's harder to kill each other. Not that I'm plugging congestion in that manner, but I mean, it's true. One of the reasons COVID was such a problem was, well, no one's out on the road. It's a freeway. 3 in the afternoon, I can go 85 miles per hour without a problem. So more people were killed. I can't really say about that. I wish I could. I wish I had an answer. I wish I knew exactly why it is we keep crashing into each other, why we keep drinking, why we keep, playing on our phones, why we keep going faster than we need to be going. I could say part of it is it might be a comfort issue. One of the things is that over the last couple years, as congestion was improved because of COVID, and it's getting back to normal, and maybe as it's getting back to normal, maybe we're more comfortable with the situation at hand on the road. And because we're getting more comfortable, maybe we're getting more careless. I wish I had a more scientific reason. That's my gut. But I wish I had a better answer for you. But it's unfortunate, I have to say that, it looks like you will pass up your numbers for this year.
Well,
Yes.
when will you know how many miles traveled to estimate for the region? Because it seems to me like also maybe with more people going back to work, on a daily basis, maybe we're just driving more, and so maybe our rate will continue to drop. That's a little bit of wishful thinking, maybe on my part, but so
That could
curious
be
when
part-
we'll know that apples to apples comparison.
Usually, we don't get miles traveled until it's usually sometime in late September or early October. It's a rather arduous calculation that TxDOT undertakes every year. I don't know if there's eye of newt, word of toad into it, but there's a lot of miles to calculate in the state of Texas, and they look at not just state miles, they look at everything.
Okay.
Jeff, I'll make a comment on the cause of the crashes, and not that we have the reasons for it. Well, we have contributing factors, and we review every fatal crash that happens in our district that's on system and look for reviewing the police reports, what happened, why it happened, is there anything we could have done to fix that, to not have that occur at that location in the future. Sometimes there are things that we tweak with signing, pavement markings, conditions, those kind of things, but the vast majority of them are behavioral. And contributing factors in this, for the last couple of years, the top 3 behavioral characteristics have been speeding, driving under the influence, and not wearing seatbelts, which is disappointing because actual seatbelt usage is pretty high, but it's leveled off and might even have declined in recent years slightly. It's for our district. But folks in rural areas leaving the roadway, rolling vehicles, and being ejected because not wearing a seatbelt is on the rise slightly for us.
That's pretty shocking because
It's very shocking,
if you
yes,
look
sir.
at our generation, like we grew up with, you can say maybe the previous generation, but our generation, we grew up wearing seatbelts.
But I think
I said my generation.
but I think it goes to show that
I grew up in the back seat of the station wagon,
Yeah.
looking backwards.
but it goes to show that a simple seatbelt buckling in would possibly save probably 50% of our fatalities that we have. It's very high.
It's in this region, it's I believe about 1 in 5 fatalities. They're not wearing a seatbelt. But it's amazing that over 95% of people, if you look at all the crashes that occur, because while we can't get data, to figure out who is and who isn't wearing a seatbelt, crash data gives you a really good idea, and it's like 95% wear their seatbelts. And but to think that if you just go click, you could drop your fatalities by 20% with one click, potentially. And by the way, Ms. Beckett, did you have an LTD2 station wagon back in 1977?
Okay, no, it was a Buick 1970 Buick, but it had a 454 four-barrel. And,
wow.
You know, when you were a teenager, you could put like 10 kids in there and still go like 120. Not safe.
Okay.
Don't recommend it.
I had a smog choke Windsor engine in the LTD, but still you could fit about 30 kids in it, and 5 of them were facing out the rear. In regards to other issues, I will tell you though, while the fatality figure is disconcerting to say the least, just briefly, serious injuries, there's been a decline last year, and looking at 2025 so far, it looks like you're going to continue going down, and that's definitely a positive, because you know we all think about the fatality because it's final, it's permanent. But the one thing that we all need to realize, though, is that a serious injury sometimes could, dare I say, be worse than a fatality, in the sense that sometimes people are injured to the point where, you know, they're injured for the rest of their lives. People have to take care of these people for the rest of their lives. And so to diminish the importance of, you know, preventing serious injuries, we talk a lot about fatalities, preventing serious injuries, that's equally as important, because sometimes that has a longer and a larger impact on what we have to, you know, spend in terms of society's so please do keep that in mind. Bicycle and pedestrian, and I always have to apologize for this slide. You know, one of the things that CAMPO, the states, et cetera, we all have to follow these federal guidelines, and this is one of them. While we look at fatalities and fatality rates, injuries and injury rates, we also look at bicycle and pedestrian fatalities and serious injuries as one single item. So in order to keep with in the spirits of the feds, the region is slightly up in 2024. However, from what I am seeing so far, you all look like you are going to be down in 2025. So that's definitely a plus. And my understanding, you know, and this is something that even in Houston, pedestrian incidents, they seem to be more and more. They're becoming more prevalent, so to see them go down, you know, that's definitely, it's something we all want to look at, especially because they are vulnerable road users. Excuse me. In terms of performance measures, one of the things we do is we're looking at Road to Zero by 2050, which is the text dot guideline for this, and this is, I would call, the schedule of declines for CAMPO region to meet that goal. The thing to look at towards the upper middle is the 2024 target and the 2024 actuals. As you can see, unfortunately, the targeted numbers that were proposed, y'all kind of missed. What 2025 will look like, you might be able to hit your serious injury levels. You might be able to hit your bike ped levels, actually. But you've already passed up fatalities in terms of, you have 256. And based on the schedule, based on how it's done, you should have only had a total of 253. Any questions on that schedule? There's still a lot of work to do. One last slide, we got safety focus areas. Now these are the areas that the state of safety report has, while we have the general stuff that I provide, we look at the various areas of note that impact the region specifically. And it hasn't really changed much. And while some of these overlap, we just like to try to break them out so you can look at different areas in terms of like where to focus your efforts. Distracted driving, locations that don't have any signalization, a failure to control speed. And what that is, and this is something where my understanding is that TxDOT has included failure to control speed as part of speeding. I choose to split it out for you, partially because speeding refers to going faster than the speed limit or going faster than conditions allow. Like, speed limit could be 40, but it's raining cats and dogs and you're going 38, and really you should be going about 30. A failure to control speed means exactly that. You fail to control your speed and you hit another vehicle. You could be going 10 miles per hour, hit another vehicle, you fail to control your speed. Sometimes we kind of joke that that's the lazy answer for filling out a crash report. It's like, they hit the back of them, they didn't control their speed, 22. So, but these are the top issues, and also road departures, which are usually a single vehicle that just drives off the road, usually at night. In fact, if you look at a time curve for road departures, they tend to mimic drunk driving. There might be something there, should be looked into. But I'd like to highlight the five items that are highlighted, and for next time, maybe I need to highlight them a little bolder. Alcohol, speeding, unrestrained occupants, motorcycles, and pedestrians. All of these, it's not that there are necessarily a lot of events, but they're disproportionately high in terms of deaths and serious injury compared to all crashes. So these are areas that perhaps hitting those, you might have a better chance of reducing your because they don't occur as often as other events, but when they occur, they can be deadly. So there's about 5 areas that you can focus your efforts in to try to reduce fatalities, serious injuries in the area.
Jeff, in regards to motorcycles, what suggestion would you give?
Wear a helmet.
Oh, that's
And speed.
Not just a helmet, but appropriate clothing. Unfortunately, the motorcycles, if you really look at it, motorcycles is the most dangerous because of first, there aren't that many motorcyclists out there. Even compared to bicyclists, there's not that many. The speeds they're going, a bicyclist going 15 miles per hour that crashes compared to a motorcyclist that goes 70. Pretty sure the motorcyclist is going to lose every time. I think part of it is it's a challenge. I would hope, frankly, that while I can say that the motorcyclist needs to be more careful on the roadway, I hope that the auto industry, and normally I will say, I'd like to say that it's a we issue as drivers to be watching for motorcycles, but motorcycles are so rare, we're not usually thinking about them. But the auto industry has done a fine job of telling me that there's somebody in my blind spot. The technology has gotten to the point where I can't stand all the features in my car, but good Lord, I love my blind spot detector. And I think it's going to be a big part for the auto industry to help solve that problem, to be able, especially even with AI, to detect motorcyclists on the roadway so we could be more aware. They're just not in our mind. We are looking out for four-wheeled boxes on the road, not motorcycles. I mean, I was driving and I'm just sitting there, one passed me by, probably 50 miles per hour. I'm just stopped in traffic and it's lane splitting right beside me. Motorcycle, it's a two-party issue. Motorcycles have to play their part, but I do think the auto industry is going to have to play a bigger role in being able to detect them and notify us that they're in our area.
I have a question while you're kind of looking at technologies and the impact of emerging technologies. Are you starting to track e-bikes and how those, we're starting to look at that as a city, and that like some of these e-bikes, particularly ones with throttles and not just pedal assist, like they're really moving a lot more than 15 miles an hour. But without data, we don't want to rush to act either. And so I'm curious if that's something you're starting to track and report on?
So TxDOT's actually started to track them. That's now a part of crash data. I think that started back in 2023, and thankfully so. Usually we have to unfortunately go to the hospitals for a lot of that data. And I respect that they're what we call, a big answer to some of the last mile issues that we have to deal with. They are an effective use of transportation, but in Houston we're dealing with it, and their city council has banned the e-scooters in certain areas of downtown. You talk to my daughter at A&M, they're the scourge of the planet. It's like these are things, and we don't have, this is something, as they become more popular, we're going to have to learn how are we going to integrate them into our transportation network. They don't require licensing. They're very unwieldy, they're very fast. I mean, for what they are and their little wheels, they don't have the braking that is probably preferable. It's going to definitely be a challenge, and we're going to all have to deal with it. I would hate to see them eliminated, but I think we have to figure a way how to better integrate them.
All right, thank you. Mayor Houston.
Speaking of scooters, when will that show up as one of the, bicycle, motorcycle, scooter, spin, bird, that type that you were just talking about?
Once the data become more prevalent.
Okay.
I would say that, 2024, and it's something to look at, especially as it takes a little time for that data to really get into the mix of things, because there's two issues, and the question is whether or not, usually a motor vehicle incident involves a car. Or a motor, it could be a motorcycle or a car, but like it's a bicycle and a car, or a pedestrian and a car. Or it could be just a motorcycle. Scooter, I don't know exactly if they're getting appropriately, because usually the issues that I'm hearing more about scooter hits pedestrian. I'm not sure if that necessarily involves a crash report. I don't know what the law is about that. I don't believe it does. And so...
Yeah. My other question is, I see you have two categories just by age, young drivers and older drivers.
Yes.
Which I am one. So...
Are you the younger or I'm sure, right?
But I would think that even though it's an older, younger driver, it's still going to fall under distracted driving or, that kind of thing. How are those age categories something in and of itself and not associated with something else?
That's an excellent question. And these are all different areas of focus, and some of them intertwine with each other. In terms of young and old, those are different issues. Having a young driver of my own, especially one that doesn't seem to know directionality at all, I'm not even sure I'm his father. He doesn't know it. I mean, it's really bad. But they're just inexperienced. So distraction, definitely going to be an issue. On the other end of it, it's more going to be about reaction time. It's going to be, the concern tends to be more, because the one thing about younger driver incidents, they tend to be, it's not that they cause more fatalities necessarily, but they do cause more incidents, older, and they're also tend to be at higher speeds. Older driver incidents, they're not at higher speeds. They don't tend to be as serious to the person getting hit, but the older driver there's concern for because they might not be able to handle the hit of the incident. So it just depends, and we have to look deeper into that factor. And so if you want to get into the issue of older drivers, it's just pointing it out as something this is an area to take a look at and everything that goes into it.
Okay, so are some of these maybe double counted, that if you're 16 and distracted driving, you're counted twice?
Yes.
Okay, so
Definitely.
it's a factor.
It's a focus area.
Okay, thank you.
To try to break it down exactly, this list would be huge. So we just try to look at different areas, because certain areas and certain organizations are better at dealing with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They're about alcohol.
What definition of young and old?
Young is pretty much 15 to 20, and older is 65 plus.
All right, thank you. All right, any final questions?
I have just one quick question on the signalized intersections.
Yes.
Is that mainly that people are trying to beat a red light, or what? Do we have any idea on that?
It could be a variety of things. It could be a failure to make a red light, but a lot of these are also someone's at a red light and just someone runs into the back of someone because they're not paying attention. Failure to control speed.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, if there are no other questions.
Chair, I have a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
On the unsignalized intersections, you know, the answer I get when I say my constituents would like a light here is, well, we have to do the traffic counts and see if it matches with the best practice from the manual. But given that high percentage of crashes, how often is the manual looked at, or do we ever, how does that data relate to how often the manual's updated that maybe it's not getting it right?
I think the question the question here is, looking at the entirety of the intersection. The quote-unquote manual, it all depends on what the nature of the intersection is. And some intersections they're all designed differently, and it's different traffic patterns. It would just depend. I mean, an engineer that's worth their salt will use it appropriately.
I mean, there's more than traffic counts, right, that go into...
Sure, it could be signage, it could be shrubbery.
Geography, lots of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I know of one location where turns out part of the problem was there was just this overgrown shrubbery that you could not see what was coming. Mm-hmm. They cut down the shrub.
Commissioner, I think maybe your question is, in the traffic signal warrants, does traffic counts or turning movements, is that the only thing? There's about 7 or 8 different criteria we look at for warranting a signal, and crash rates, a number of crashes is one of those.
Okay,
so it's not just the number of vehicles coming in each direction, but crashes does, now it needs to hit a threshold in the severity of crashes and those kind of things, but crashes is one of the factors we look at when looking at whether traffic signals are warranted.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it, Jeff, and go Aggies.
Thank you all, and by the way, one last thing, transportation related, 50 years ago, there was a transportation event where 29 men lost their lives, Lake Superior, in the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Yeah. I felt the need to bring that up. I don't know why, but feel free to play it on your iPhones on your way out.
We have a Gordon Lightfoot fan here. All right, thank you. All right, we will move on to Ashby's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So 2 things from me today. One is to announce the good news of the groundbreaking for State Highway 71 at Tucker Hill Lane grade separation. This was a project that was deferred as part of the 2020 deferral to help fund the I-35 CapEx Central or CapEx project. And so we had a really good, we being Texas Austin District, Bastrop County, Had a really good visit last week before last, on that. And Commissioner Beckett, I wish you could have been there because most of my remarks are about you. So,
That's what I heard, and I appreciate that. But
so
I let my compadre, that's not my precinct. I let my compadre be in the picture.
Because as soon as I saw him, I walked over and said, "Where's Commissioner Beckett?" They said she couldn't
he
be
kinda
here because it
told
would have been a walking quorum.
Little disc, no.
So, but yeah, I wanted to recognize this because this has been a long time coming. And one of the things I said at the event, Commissioner Beckett, was what a fantastic team player you have been for the region, but also what a fantastic advocate you have been for Bastrop County. And not just Bastrop County. I recall not long after I took this job in 2014, when we were having discussions about roads that needed to be looked at and studied, you were asking for looks at FMA 12 back then. You were asking for 969 back then, and not just on the Bastrop County side, you were asking on the Travis County side as well. So, yeah, I just wanted to point that out, and then, thank you once again for being a great regional partner.
Well, thank you.
Then the second item of good news was, and I'll ask Tucker to speak to the road hand ward itself, because he knows that part better than I do, but one of our board members is a very new recipient, Commissioner Inglesby, Hayes County. And so Tucker and I joined, and Tucker presented Commissioner Inglesby with the Road Hand Award.
Tucker, you want to say a little bit about the award?
So the award, the Road Hand Award is the highest level of award that a non-engineer or non-TxDOT person can receive and recognize for just a lifetime of transportation cooperation, initiative, and partnership that we had the privilege to present earlier this month. So congratulations, Commissioner.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you. It was a very humbling experience. I was totally surprised, had absolutely no idea, and was very honored to receive it. Thank y'all.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Ashby, that it? All right, so on to item number 12. Just as a reminder, the next TAC meeting is the 17th, or has that been canceled? No, okay, sorry, it's been canceled. The next policy board meeting has also been canceled for December. So our next board meeting will be January 12th. And just as a reminder, at that meeting, we will be electing new officers for the next, it's a 2-year cycle, but we will be electing officers at that next meeting in January. And if there is nothing, let's see, did I forget anything?
Chair, I have a question regarding
Yes.
officers. Since we're not meeting in December, what is the process for a call for nominations? I think we know that Vice Chair Matire will be stepping into the chair role next year, but as far as Vice Chair and Secretary, how will we be discussing that?
So there's been a couple of different ways we've done that in the past. Chairs have set up a nominating committee to present nominations, or we've just taken nominations from the floor. And if there's a desire for me to set up a nominating committee, I can do that, or we can just take nominations from the floor.
Did we get clarification? I know when I asked for bylaw information, I know Williamson County has a designated leadership position, as does Travis. What was the other stipulation for officer positions?
No, the only stipulations in officers is you can't have an officer or 2 officers from the same county.
Okay.
So, so with Councilmember Matea serving as vice chair, nobody from Travis County or City of Austin is eligible, while he is serving as an officer. So, and likewise, as I've been serving as an officer, nobody else from Williamson County is eligible to serve as an officer.
And is it by jurisdiction of the governmental entity of which we're representing, or where the member physically resides?
I don't know, Tim, do you remember?
question.
It just simply designates county.
Yeah, so if you're from that county, whether, so like if, for example, when Ann Kitchen was an officer from the city of Austin, Councilwoman Matea or somebody from Travis County would not have been eligible because she resided in Travis County.
Okay. I mean, I guess I would like to nominate Mayor Pennyman Moran to be the Williamson County designee.
So there's not, but there's not a Williamson County designee.
Okay. Well, I get Cedar Park is partially in Williamson County.
No, that's not my point. There's not a bylaw requirement that there be.
Oh, so since he represents Cedar Park, then it would be.
Yeah, he represents Cedar Park. So Williamson County gets to pick our own, like, the Williamson County Commissioners Court picks who represents Williamson County on the board. Is that what you're asking?
So
for leadership position.
Yeah, and I understand what you're asking, because Cedar Park sits in Travis and Williamson. You're wondering, would that count?
Yes.
Oh, so I think we've looked at it as what the majority of the city resides in which county. So, for example, the city of Austin, there's Austin and Williamson County, but the majority of Austin is in Travis County. So it's looked at as if, you know, that's wherever that entity's majority population is.
Thank you for that clarification. Sure. And just Mayor Pennyman Moran, I know you, not to put you on the spot and you were not expecting this, but just wanted to see if you would have any interest in serving.
Yeah, I thought I was off the hook looking at the rule, but now that I see how we've interpreted it, I'll certainly give it some thought. Thank you, Vanessa.
Yeah. Thank you.
And just if we're, I know that Mayor Schrader has expressed an interest in serving as vice chair, so I will throw that out there. I know he's not able to be here today, but wanted to put that out there since we were talking about that. But since it's not a posted agenda item, I don't think we can go too much further on that topic. Thank you, Tim, for giving me the look. All right, so.
Just to close it out, I guess because there are a couple of different people who would be interested, just procedural way or procedurally, perhaps we can wait till January to have that discussion for officer positions. I mean, do we need to in other words, I don't think we're at a place because our meeting is ending now and we were not meeting in December, and there's clearly multiple people that might be interested in officer positions, that we wait to have that conversation until January where we have a good sense of who all is interested, and we can talk about the nominees and have that
So I tell you what,
conversation take place.
I will put together a nominating committee, and it will include Ms. Fuentes, myself, and I'm outgoing, and I'll pick Mr. Harris. And we will, if you are interested in serving as an officer, get that information to Ashby, and he will pass it on to us, and we will come back in January with a recommendation.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. I think that is it. So at 3:06, we will adjourn this meeting, and have a great Thanksgiving, and a happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and go Aggies.
I was going to say, wait a minute, you try to beat me to it. When we come back, the Longhorns will still be in the college football playoffs, so we enjoy that right there as well. Hook 'em.